Welcome to Exploring Your Society. I'm your host, Sean Bowman.
Mikey B.
What up, Mikey? How you doing today?
Oh, just living the dream, man. Like I said, while we were backstage, my cat was already circling, so she's getting ready. She's looking. Give me that look in her eye. She's ready to hit up that litter box. Yeah, it's coming, man. She's been saving it for what, 2 weeks now.
So you got your Out of the Blank T-shirt on. I got an ODB.
Yeah, representing. Got Robbie. I got to go back on. I haven't talked to him in a while.
I talked to him a few weeks ago. That sent him a Christmas card or whatever.
Yeah, I actually got something. I did a bid at a storage unit, and I got a JFK thing. I told him I'd send it to him. I just keep procrastinating. So, Robbie, if you catch this, it'll be coming at some point. And that's what she said. So what do we got coming up?
I was just about to ask you.
Okay. Well, I know we have Friday. We're releasing part 1 of a little evidence reveal / documentary type thing for Wildwood. Are you going to play some clips?
I just have a little video here. Actually have the real video. I'll play that a little bit later. But,
okay, I was gonna say it's a bit of a teaser, but did it tease you enough to watch?
But tonight we have Paige Dalton, Cara Phillip on, and we're gonna talk to them in a moment.
Dude, I can barely hear you. It's like you're doing an Estes method again. Like you just always mumble. Every time he does an Estes, I record it. I'm like, well, I got to turn the volume up because we can't understand what he's saying.
I said we have Cara Phillip and Paige Dalton on tonight.
Represented. Let's say it louder. Say it louder.
Right now. What's up, guys?
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here.
So I think that was pretty creepy. That captured my interest.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't creepy enough to show the eyebrows or anything. Like that's either going to deter people or they're going to be like, man, this is going to be some spooky stuff.
I bet it's going to be spooky. I bet spooky.
We have a little 30-second teaser I'll play a little bit later, which is actual footage from the actual thing.
You're such a tease, Sean. So, do you guys want to tell us about yourselves? What you got going on?
I'll let Paige go first.
Okay.
Sure. Well, I am Paige. I have been in the paranormal community now it's only been about a year, maybe a little bit over a year, but always been fascinated in the paranormal. And I actually got back into it because I was supposed to go on a romantic, haunted weekend with this guy I was dating because we were both into the supernatural. And so we planned this romantic getaway. And this was going to be my first time ever going somewhere haunted and staying overnight with somebody that was really into that stuff. And he canceled on me and I decided to go anyway. And I went to Brumder Mansion in Milwaukee, had a crazy experience. It was so awesome. And now the rest is history. I'm hooked. I'm in the community. My thing is I love the history part of it, the paranormal. I can be skeptic. I can be a believer. I can be like, no, there's nothing going on. I feel the whole gamut of emotions when it comes to the paranormal. So I think I'm just here trying to figure things out and just enjoying the process along the way. And then I get to meet all these really cool people. So along the way, I've had a show from Paraflix called Expedition Entity bring me on as a historian as we investigate local places in the Midwest. And I've met Kara through, I was actually just thinking, like, how did we meet? And maybe you can talk a
Chris's
little
pop-up Paracon. Yep.
bit. Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
No. So I'm new into the scene. Kara's been around for quite a while. You were even on a panel at the first Paracon
Yes.
into.
So yeah, my story, I started like my whole life was definitely I had a ghost in my house growing up, like so many of us did. That's how we like get so invested in this and going to all the haunted places. And as a teenager, did we take pictures that we actually got something, or was it all lens flare and they all look exactly the same, but we didn't have the internet back then, so we all thought we were special and unique. But having experiences kind of my whole life, and then ended up at one of the big haunted prisons, Joliet Correctional Center here in the Chicago area. And I will tell you, the whole time I was telling people, I am not having anything happen. This is ridiculous. Like, these ghosts, like, come on, it's so haunted. No, but the whole time I'd be like, oh, did you just see that? Like, it just wasn't big enough. It wasn't a big enough something. Finally, had my big moment that I said, they're here. But I got to be involved with the tours and the community, really getting involved kind of really organically and meeting so many people when they came. And kind of what I loved was people I met, years prior on a tour, suddenly like re-meeting them at an event and saying, oh, we really did know each other. So I got to be involved like that. And that's how I met Chris Fleming and got to be on the panel at his pop-up Paracon this summer. So that's how I met Paige. And so since then, kind of in a podcasting capacity. And the cool part about that, I get to talk to cool people. I get to be like, I want to talk to that person. And then I get to, I think that's like the coolest part. So that's kind of been my involvement this past year with the community.
So you guys formed a dynamic duo just recently. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys been able to investigate together then at all, or?
No. So I'm going to give, like, in our really non-paranormal union to start, we are, it's totally the opposite of paranormal. We're going to do a sprint triathlon like in August.
Nice.
So that's been most of our conversations coming up. So just kind of through the other stuff. And so we're hoping to start making it to some events together and starting to kind of work together that way.
And we have done some, like, we went to cemetery.
You're right.
Cemeteries every once in a while. She'll be like, I want to go to like a cemetery, and I'm like, what a weirdo. Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, of course. No, I call that just fun time. I'm like, no, we're not doing anything special or anything. That's just normal. That's a Sunday.
Yeah.
We just talk. Well, actually, Kara, the history part of me, I actually, what was the name of that cemetery? I'm going to forget it.
Forest Home.
No, the one with Alice Clement. So I
don't know the name of it. I don't remember.
I don't either. I don't know. But Kara helped me find. I went down a history rabbit hole and discovered this, woman from the 1900s in early Chicago who became one of the first police detectives in the United States. And this is early 1900s. Awesome. And her story is just really cool. She would wear like pearls and heels, because they didn't give them, what did they give them? I think maybe a whistle. Like, they didn't get women did not get, guns, any weapons, anything like that for quite a while. And so basically their role was to blow the whistle if they saw something and get the guys to come in, to do the but Alice Clement took it in a different way, and she said, no, I'm going to do them. And so she would use jujitsu to take
nice.
And so she had a really prolific career downtown Chicago as one of the first women police detectives. But then she ended up suffering from diabetes and ended up, they didn't have health. They didn't have health workers' rights back then. So they kind of just kept, like itching her out of out of the scene, and then she ended up dying in her mid 40s. But what Kara and I found out is that she doesn't even have a headstone. She's buried in a dark grave in this, suburban cemetery.
Gorgeous cemetery, shocking that there's somebody in an unmarked grave there. I'm so bad. I'm like, no, we don't do anything together. This is all we actually do when we hang out.
Yeah. Now was she buried in an unmarked cemetery because she wasn't married or something to that extent? Like she was an independent woman and didn't have anybody to kind of, I guess, see her off in a way?
Really great question. So yeah, she was married, and it sounds like what happened is that her in-law, she bought this plot, probably she's buried around her in-laws, right, Kara?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not buried near her. She got remarried, is not buried near the ex. He's not there, at least not in a marked grave, but her in-laws. Like, so she's buried next to her ex.
Her ex-in-laws.
Oh man, that's brutal.
And
in an unmarked grave, man. Did you get a spirit box to try to communicate with her, and she just got really angry, like, get me away from these guys? Jeez.
Right? So, well, we did a spirit box session, and we did get a couple hits, like just of some names and her saying, our names and things like that. But I'm going to take it upon myself to work on getting her a headstone, because I feel like she deserves it. And I don't know if I need to reach out to the Chicago PD, what can we do for this woman? But that's what I like. I enjoy the history aspect and tying it in with the paranormal. I mean, as a lot of people do. And so for me, going to that grave, we didn't do any, like that. The investigation was just such a small part.
Like a little bit.
Yeah. But just kind of trying to uncover her story a little bit.
Yeah, and I always think that's the way to investigate, is just to expand on the history. And I mean, obviously, sometimes like you may get more, or it may be, false, because we don't really know what we're interacting with. But that's always the goal for sure. Now, when you do your research, do you usually use like online tools, or is there a specific like library database that you use, or anything in particular?
I've used library databases. I'll often just end up going down, online rabbit holes, finding old literature, if possible, and getting my hands on some old literature that's been written about it. Firsthand documents are the way to go. So it just depends on how far I want to go down that rabbit hole. I was also a social studies teacher, and so it's very important for me to do accurate research, right? I mean, there's just so much stuff out there that's just retelling of stories, and that's fine. It's what we do as a society. But something I encourage my students is like, go to those libraries, go to those museums, get your hands on those the primary sources, that are gonna really, and you can't necessarily trust a primary source, but like evaluate use a few to synthesize them to be able to like put a story together a little bit more accurately.
That makes sense too, because I mean, vetting sources. I had made the mistake of getting my bachelor's degree in journalism, which was a horrible idea. But that's one thing that I learned too, is you have to make sure that you can try to validate your sources as much as possible. But you make a good point that the history may still not be accurate, because they always say history is told by the victors. So you're only getting one perspective, whether or not it's a battle or just even someone's history in general, especially with a woman in that time in power as well. The news surrounding her may not be accurate or depicted correctly. She may have been even more badass than what they said.
Probably.
Right.
Well, you have a lot of mob history too in Chicago, right?
Ton of mob history, and that was right at the Prohibition when she was working. So I mean, she was in the height of it too.
Oh yeah,
you had to have some female cojones to get that job done. So, but yeah, I love uncovering those stories for sure. And Chicago is just so rich in history. And I'm not even from Chicago, and that's where I can rely on Kara a little bit more, because I've only been here about, I don't even think a decade yet. So, which is, I mean, it's a good amount of time, but, Kara and her and all, like going to Bachelor's Grove, I've heard so much about the cemetery. It's a very, very famous cemetery. I mean, nationally, internationally, I think it's renowned. But to be able to go with Kara, who's been there as like a kid, right? And
that's going. Yeah, we don't go at night anymore because that's for the teenagers. And I'm not into running from police anymore. It was fun.
On the gravestone with your
it was fun a while ago. Now it's not so fun.
But now when you get caught, you're just like, come on.
Yeah, no. If I could you imagine? I would probably still have to like call my mom.
Yeah.
So I got arrested.
Yeah.
That would be so hilarious but embarrassing. So no, it's just during the day now. But yeah, it's interesting though, I think, hanging out with somebody that is into the history that hasn't grown up with us, because I'm like, yeah, Bachelor's Grove, didn't you do this? Don't you have? I mean, I have some of the old pictures just up here somewhere. And to hang out with somebody that this is new and they're learning about that, I think that's so amazing, because so much of the lore, right? Is there a house in the forest? I don't know. Where did that come from, actually, historically? Or do we just all tell each other that story? I think we do.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's interesting having somebody that hasn't been around hearing some of this stuff and actually researches it, not just as my friend said. That's huge.
Yeah, just to give it
like Lady in White or Crybaby Bridge or one of those type of like urban legends that every town has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's I grew up in Texas, and Goatman's Bridge, which I think every state has a Goatman's Bridge.
Oh yeah. That's one thing. One of my first investigations was at a local legend place, and I actually dug deep into the history, because there was a foundation there, and no one knows what it's for, so they call it the witch's house.
Of course.
And there's a hangman's tree and all this other stuff, and I actually contacted one of our local colleges, had a professor who did a lot of research on just general urban legends. And he had indicated that a lot of these places you'll hear the same story throughout the town, or, throughout the city. And a lot of it's based on pop culture at the time. So like the witch's house came in like the late 80s, early 90s during the Satanic Panic. I could have that wrong. It may have been early 80s. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was the 70s? Okay. Yeah, whichever. Okay, my bad. But then like they had a hangman's tree, and in Pittsburgh there was a race riot back in the early 80s. And that's when a lot of these locations started having, hangman's tree and stuff like that, just going with that event. There was a couple other ones I don't remember exactly, but it just seems like whatever's going on at that time, you're going to find any location that has supposed energy is going to have some kind of reference to that pop culture at that time. And then the good ones stick, I guess.
That makes total sense. Yep. And they are cyclical too, where you get the, the satanic stuff and the hangman. Yeah, probably every decade there's something else.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because all these locations have energy there. You just don't know why. And because they are active. I've had several places, and it's like, yeah, but it's not, it's something else that's coming through.
No, it's even funny talking about the hanging. So different stories in different decades, right? So when I told my mom when I was a teenager, I'm going to go to Bachelor's Grove, it wasn't that far from where we lived. So it's so funny that it seemed so scary and distant. But she grew up like in the city, and she goes, people get hung there. What? But that was so in like the late 60s, early 70s, that was apparently the story. People would go there and find people hanging there, and people would get hung. That didn't happen. Come on. That just sure didn't. But it's amazing. Like that was the story, like in the late 60s, early 70s, or, during that time. So every generation has their different stories. And it's so funny to talk about hanging, that comes up in all of these places.
Well, me and Jen were just at Bowman Cemetery this past weekend. The whole lore behind that was supposedly there was a witch, and she was poisoning the kids, and they hung her outside the cemetery or whatever. And, you could hear the witch, and you could see the kids dancing and stuff like that. But it's kind of ties into like all these other stories, very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we actually have a local one too, the Green Man Tunnel, where
Dead Man's Hollow too.
Yeah, well, the Green Man Tunnel is actually based on a man who lived in Beaver County, and he actually was a guy that they called him Charlie No Face because he had his face burn off, and
Ray Robinson,
electrical accent, right? I think it was electrical.
Yeah, he was playing on by a power line or something like that.
Yeah. But it was in Beaver County, and they did call him the Green Man. But then the Green Man's Tunnel, if you look it up, is in the other side of Pittsburgh. And they just took that story, which is factual, at another location and brought it over to there with the lure.
Right. Is there a real tunnel?
It is
there at least a tunnel?
Yeah,
okay, I was like, or did they really just appropriate the whole thing?
There's actually two different tunnels. There's Green Man Tunnel, and then right if you go over the hillside, there's Corvette Tunnel, and there's supposed to be stuff that happened to Corvette Tunnel too, or Corvette crash.
Yeah, supposedly if you go into the tunnel, turn your lights out. I forget what happens. Something happens. I don't remember what it was. But
I've heard that, but I have no idea what happens. I can tell you.
On the hood or something, I think too.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it's there's a wicked turn going into the tunnel, so it's probably not a good idea.
That's probably how people die. They turn off their lights and just hit into the wall, and they're like, "Well, that Green Man really."
Yeah.
I did kind of want to sometime with the team take them there and have someone a little bit up the road with a walkie-talkie and someone a little bit up the other side of the road with a walkie-talkie, just in case cars come, and actually try it and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, Big Beaver is where he's actually buried at, which was Matt just said.
Yeah.
I've been to his grave. The guy's real name is Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool that these urban legends really almost are pretty common in most kids' childhoods. And then you wonder why we're so fascinated, but we have had it instilled in us at a very young age.
Yeah.
And to go explore. We grew up all saying, okay, we have to go check that out. We have to see that. We have to have that experience. Yeah. So I think a lot of us are still looking for that experience, right?
Yeah.
But Kara, did your kids go out and do that? Because my kids, I don't think now we actually care about our kids' safety and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's a huge difference, right? Now, literally my kid is in the city at a concert and I am, okay, well, I'm going to be on a podcast. So please, if you have a problem, that was never, my experience. Well, we didn't have cell phones then either. We just went and did this stuff. First of all, it was all word of mouth. It wasn't the internet telling us something that we could just read it. And I think that's kind of a lot of kids now, but I will say the bias for my kids, I spent a lot of time at a really cool, huge abandoned haunted prison. And my kids are like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
You want to go? You want to we're going to clean out Belushi's cell today. You want to go? No. Why would you ask me that? So I don't know with my kids if it's that it's the case of, this millennium, or if it's the case of that's the nerdy thing my mom does.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think now with kids, at least, this might be the old boomer in me, saying this, but I think technology has destroyed a lot of the motivation to go out. Yeah, because they can just watch a video on YouTube with somebody else doing it.
Right. Well, right. And they just don't have to step out into the outside these days. So,
no.
It's so sad. And
my daughter's kind of into paranormal stuff and that. She does tarot reading and stuff. She comes to some of the stuff with us. But yeah, it's
good.
I don't know.
Yeah, that
my
gets
son's kind of more on the fence, but he came to a couple places with us too, and they're both older. My daughter's 20 and my son's 22. So
yeah,
mine are older and they're still not interested.
Yeah. Mine's 2.5, but I think he would go. I think he would be down to go.
For a little while, you just bring him anywhere you want.
I'm not taking him anywhere like
that. Like your own Boo Bear, just put a sensor on him.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Is that genius or
object.
Terrible?
Oh man,
we got him a rat tail recently, just to bring that back, and I think that would maybe get some spirits from the 80s riled up for sure.
Right.
What's that?
Said you need to bring that rat tail back.
Dude, I don't think it works. Like mine would be like kind of gray and salt and peppery, and like it would just be gross. Like his is like
Would that
kind
still
of
be?
cute.
But they were all gross, though. Don't.
I don't think I've ever had a rat tail. I might have like a bowl cut before, but I don't think I've
Dude,
ever
I
had
had a rat tail. Leo's a second generation rat tail. My mom actually when she cut off my rat tail, she saved it and busted it out like right before my wedding.
Oh, oh no!
Yeah, that's some Pennsylvania stuff right
Was
there.
Was it a beautiful reminiscing, or was it like, look at this rat tail he used to have?
It's a rat tail, so I don't know how beautiful it can get, but I didn't get it out and smell it either.
For good luck or anything, or
what's that?
You know, attach it to her wedding dress for good luck or anything.
No.
Something old and borrowed from his mom.
Yeah.
Oh man,
some Western PA stuff for sure.
I'm picturing your wedding in the basement. Sorry. Oh, that was
so.
We're like, attach it to the dress, yeah.
Yeah. It was part of the veil. So going
like this
to the
mistletoe over there.
Yeah, I bust it out every Christmas.
She's gonna hate us.
There are things scarier than ghosts for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I always say it's the non-paranormal stuff that really gets you in an investigation. So.
It's true. I do say the humans are scarier. That's anytime I've been scared, I've been certain that it was a human, whether it was or not, but it's the humans. That's who's going to get you.
The interactions like that, like we found, like when we're investigating like a basement or something, we've had it happen to us twice where someone's like else in the house flushes the toilet, but you're in pitch black and you're right next to the pipes and it sounds like an atom bomb's coming through. That's the most scary. Yeah, for sure. But going to your the TV show, I saw that I didn't get to watch the show personally, but I did read up on it and watched a couple of the clips. So you guys investigate more less known places.
Right.
So when you go in, I know you do a lot of research beforehand. Do you ever go into those places like completely blind and not knowing any of the history to see if that may be a different experience?
That's yes. Yeah, we've done it kind of both ways. We've done it a few ways. So with the show, so it's fine that you haven't watched it because I'm not going to be on until this season. So no.
Okay, I'll wait.
Well,
let me know.
You're not missing much yet.
Send us a link.
Yeah.
Sorry, Larry.
No, they're all wonderful.
They are wonderful.
And so again, I think I don't want to have so much information that it totally kind of inundates the investigation a little bit. So I like to have just a little general idea, go into the investigation, and then sometimes afterward do even more research just to be able to watch it.
I said sorry, Larry.
I'll get eyes on it, Larry. Don't worry.
So, and then, we've done a lot of investigating so far together, actually, even without filming and just kind of in preparation. And then we've started filming a little bit for this season, and sometimes mediums are used as well. And so therefore I'll keep all of the historical information that I know to myself. And I think that's kind of a cool concept is when afterward, we went to the Bad Axe, Wisconsin, which was a site which is crazy because it's right where all my ancestors, right where I grew up. My family all lived in this very tiny, portion of Wisconsin, but it's where a lot of the Black Hawk War took place. It was where one of the final battles, if you want to even call it a battle, it was just a massacre. And basically, hundreds of Native Indigenous people were mowed down by a gunboat or two gunboats. And so I had done a ton of research on it, and Larry has written, Larry and Dan are very into history. They've written a couple of books, so they know their stuff, especially on the Black Hawk War. So I'd kind of been pouring through a lot of primary documents, firsthand accounts, which really is, there's a couple from the Native Americans, and then others are going to be from the militia. So It was interesting though, because our medium, Diet, she's amazing. And it was just insane to be there, knowing all the information that I know, knowing that this is such an obscure place. She doesn't have any idea where we're going. And just to be able to hear her and to put the pieces together of what I know, like there's a skeptic in me and I'm skeptical with a lot of mediums, but like that stuff, what happened that day was pretty amazing. She was getting some downloads of stuff that was, we actually kind of we did more research after the fact and we're able to confirm even more stuff. So I think it's so cool when we can tie the history to the paranormal. We legitimately kidnapped. We legitimately kidnapped Diet.
Just put a bag over her head and took her to the location.
Basically, she's like, and as soon as we got there, she's just like, I just keep hearing the word massacre, and it's just, and she felt it. She knew right away, and what all it was is it's the Mississippi River. There's an island on it that they tried to escape to from the shore. So it's really just this old, this park now, this state park, and no monuments nearby, nothing. Just this like place where hundreds of Native Americans were massacred. And so she hit the nail on the head. But it's things like that. Like, unfortunately, like I've polled, my students, I've polled people in the paranormal community, like, what do you know about the Black Hawk War? Right. And sadly, not a lot of people know much about it. And so that's what really appealed me to Expeditionity on Paraflix, is it's just, it's telling the stories that probably you don't hear a whole lot about, right? Like, so it's not Waverly, it's not, we're not going to the Conjuring house. It's telling these stories that have a lot of history, and you can imagine hundreds of Native Americans. It's going to have some activity there,
Now, do you do a lot of like residential stuff too, or?
No, not much. There's been a couple locations that I think are a little bit smaller that on their first few seasons. But a lot of outdoor, there's going to be, there's a lot of outdoor locations. I don't know how much, I forget what I can give away for this season, so I don't want to say too much.
No spoilers.
Mary will come after me, but it's going to be good. So stay tuned, because we've got a lot of really great locations that you probably may or may not have heard about, but that just have awesome stories. So I'm happy that I'm part of it and can tell the stories. As far as like the ghost stuff, I'm like, I will investigate. I am new to the investigation and hey, I've watched all the shows since I was little too and stuff. So I have, a rudimentary skill set on it. But it's been really cool to explore that and to see a lot of, like, I don't know how to explain this, so,
Mm-hmm.
But I like that. I don't want to have the answers. I like that I don't know. I like that my opinion of it changes. Like, I don't mind that. I like that. I like that I'm always trying to figure it out.
That's always my goal too in an investigation. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. Like, because for me, I grew up like having experiences. Like, of course there's a ghost over there, whatever. But I think I turned it off. I know I turned it off over the years. And that's been all the times that clearly I forgot about me and Paige hanging out. But that's the cool part, because I just remember them as fun, not like paranormal, but all the times learning about abilities, what you can sense, what you can, I even from like the tour side, kind of running tours, you don't rely on your senses, right? You're worried about where these people are. You're worried about their experience. You're worried about the site and the history and telling the story. And I think that's been, for me, kind of this summer in my in-between year, saying, wow, maybe when I kind of get nauseous somewhere or have a headache, maybe this is real stuff. I watch it on shows. I watch or, have friends of mine that have those experiences. And I'm like, that's not me. But no, it is. And I think that's the cool part of exploring this, going to these different locations and everything. Mm-hmm. And especially going to the places that are maybe off the beaten path.
Do you think some of that could be environmental too? Because I know a lot of these places, like, for example, Octagon House, which we've always had a lot of activity at. but there's power lines outside. So I wonder, if something like that could cause something too,
There could, yeah, no, there certainly could be, but there's plenty of situations where you don't feel anything. I'm the best at shutting it down and dismissing it. That's what I am the best at. How do I protect myself from, attachments or anything? I don't know. I just shut it down, and there's nothing that's going to do anything to the point that I just won't sense it. So that's my adventure. Some people are learning how to protect themselves. I learned how to open myself up. So I don't know, because that's my job. My job is being around death, being around this stuff. So I'm really good at shutting it out. So
makes sense. Yeah.
So is it environmental? I don't know, but there's various situations that I'm really good at shutting it out. So that's part of my journey, is learning how to let it in too when I go to these places.
So what's the scariest thing that happened to you before?
I have one scariest place. That's not a good story. Paige was there with me. It's not even a good story. It's the scariest place that I am still I love it because I'm actually scared of it, because I'm not scared of other places. Other places, it's delightful. But a little bit because I'm scared, it's delightful, there is a cemetery around us. It's a famous cemetery. Well, probably famous if you're local. Resurrection Mary comes from the cemetery. It's Resurrection Cemetery in Justice, Illinois. There is a huge mausoleum, and I am terrified of being in there. I don't think you could pay me enough money to spend the night there. Not that anyone's trying to, but I find it just terrifying. I find there's always I don't know what happened in this place. And nobody tells the stories because it's a Catholic cemetery. So the stories get shut down. But there are some people that know of all these stories, and people will say there's apparently police documentation of lights turning on at night. There's more stories, but people talk about it in hushed tones. And I've learned that once I realized how scared I was of it. There's something there, and I don't know what it is. And it feels like you're kind of moving differently through time, at least for me. I don't know if everybody feels. And speaking of headache, I feel like a headache. I feel nauseous. I feel like it's not okay. And it just scares me. And I think and nothing has happened. Nothing bad has happened there that I can say. But for me, it's terrifying. I have another actual scary story that was scary, but that's where I am most scared of.
And I've been there, and I did not like the energy. I did not like the energy in it. And I could also kind of sense something, but no, I don't think that there's anything reported necessarily on it, except for
you know what? That's fine, please. But also make sure Diet's there, because I'm just going to hug her all night.
Yeah.
She'll be my safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but otherwise, I literally have gone so far. There's another Queen of Heaven cemetery, another Catholic cemetery, has a huge mausoleum. It's, it's gorgeous from the outside. We are good for big old cemeteries in the Chicago area. Tons of them, tons of gorgeous cemeteries. And I, on purpose, went into the Queen of Heaven mausoleum because I was like, this is going to be similar. Obviously, it's just big Catholic mausoleums I freak out about. I don't know. Nope. Beautiful. I could just take a nap. I don't need to spend the night. I could take a nap. It's just perfect in there. It's just beautiful energy. It's just wonderful. I was like, it's that Resurrection one.
How
Something
often have
there.
you been to the Resurrection Cemetery?
So too many times, not that any of my family is in the mausoleum, but my whole family is in the cemetery. So that's where I learned how to drive stick shift. You go to drive in cemeteries, right?
Yeah.
So I learned how to drive stick shift there.
I'm assuming it has a nice hill to kind of learn the clutch.
No, there's another one with hills.
Okay.
This one is nice and flat and nice, easy turns in driving. So you can learn. We don't have hills in Chicago. Stop it. So
okay. We're full of them here in Pennsylvania.
No, that's if there's a hill, it's not real. I say that as I live on a hill, but I'm outside of Chicago. So you go to the flat place and you learn. So that's my family. That's actually where I taught one of my kids to drive too. I think two of them. So all the time I'm there, but it's that mausoleum. So nowadays I never don't end a visit with a visit into the mausoleum, because
that's good. Conquering your fear.
Well, I love to be actually scared, because I'm not scared at these other places. So to be scared, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But it's funny too, 'cause again, this is like going back to the urban legends, and you like from around this area, you're not actually scared of what's supposed to be scary. There,
No.
Yeah.
like where like
No, yeah.
the
So the
gates
the resurrection Mary story. So you grow up for sure hearing that story all the time as you're growing up, especially if you're going to the cemetery all the time. There is Resurrection Mary. So this, young teenage-ish, girl, she was leaving Willowbrook Ballroom. So back in the day, 30s, whatever, they would dance, so a dance hall, basically a ballroom, and they would dance. And something happened, in the area of the cemetery, which is very close, that she then died. So there's some graves they attribute it to, just a young Polish girl. There's a lot of those in the area, young Polish girls. So, they have who they think it is. But she frequently ends up in people's cars, so much so that there's a bar right across the street that just, that's just part of the lore. Like, oh, a taxi driver that suddenly needs their fare paid. All right, we're here. We know about this. It's apparently so common that she hops in people's men's cars for a ride, and she always disappears right around the cemetery. She allegedly tells people her home address. So for a long time, as the story goes, people would end up at her dad's house, saying, I had this girl, but she's not in the car anymore. And he'd be like, yeah. So there is on the bars, though, to get in, it's a gate, allegedly where her hands are. I've never seen it. People say they have, but I've never seen it. I've gone into there a lot of times, but that's what you're supposed to. Well, I never even was scared of that. I was excited. I was like, please jump in my car, Mary.
Yeah.
Never did. Never had Mary jump in the car. Never picked her up. I wouldn't pick up hitchhikers, though, because it's like a hitchhiker she's supposed to be. But isn't that also like one of the big urban legends? The hitchhikers that get in the car. Like Japan has that now after the tsunami. So it's just a thing that happens. The hitchhikers getting in the car.
again, another example of pop culture or what's going on at the time influencing our urban legends.
Yep.
So it was really funny because she took me, she's like, I gotta show you this terrifying mausoleum. So like, I'm like, oh my God, like, let's go to this terrifying mausoleum. And then like afterward, I find out about like actually what the cemetery is famous for.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the mausoleum.
Nothing at all.
Nobody talks about it.
That's the way to do it sometimes, though. I do like going into places somewhat blind and not knowing at all what because I feel like any place at a location or any part of a building or whether it's outdoors can have activity at a given time. So I feel like a lot of the times as investigators, when we do too much research or we have too much information, it can also create a bias during your investigation. So I liked, Paige, how you said you guys sometimes do it where you'll keep the research to yourself, let the investigators and the mediums do their work and then compare afterwards. I do like that. That's why I sometimes, like when we go to a local place, like I did one, we're going to come up with a documentary whenever I get finished editing it. It's been taking forever, but I went in relatively blind and then I did an evidence reveal afterwards. And that's when I got the history and, I would show them the evidence. And there was one EVP I got that they were blown away and I almost didn't even include it in the evidence reel because I didn't think it was relevant, but then they told me what happened. I was like, holy crap.
Right.
So it's always those moments too, where it's like, you don't know what's going on. And yeah, you can find some good stuff that way for sure.
Mikey's waiting for me to become a ghost before he releases this documentary.
Yeah, I know. It's been so long. I got to say my editing skills have been a little bit better, but it also leads to like taking longer to finish stuff because you want to make sure it doesn't suck horribly like all our other documentaries, which you can find.
But please watch them.
Please watch. Camera work.
Well, the one that's coming out on Friday, we didn't film. Our buddy Randall did. So
yeah, we were there though.
Gotcha. That's the Wildwood one that you guys were
Yeah.
showing? Nice.
Part one's coming on Friday.
Yeah. We have a couple of videographers that we work with, and they edit a lot quicker than me because full-time job and 2.5-year-old kind of get in the way of having time. So you got to do it while
Since
you
we're
can.
talking about it, I'm gonna actually show that little clip.
Yes, let's see it.
Do it.
exciting.
Gotta get
So
it.
we
get
should
some
probably
evidence.
subscribe and follow
Yeah,
sure.
your YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
definitely.
Yeah, you gotta get some evidence in them teasers.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one that Randall used for the intro, so I just cropped that in.
Just cut that crop dust in there. Good job.
I mean, I'm on Jen's computer right now. The one I use is trash, so like it sucks. It takes forever.
I
It doesn't-
know. He messaged me. Can you upload this to YouTube? My computer's so slow.
Oh,
But you made it happen. I was proud of you, buddy.
I had to do it for my phone, actually.
Yeah,
you
really?
found a way.
Yeah, that's resilience, baby. So, Paige, what's your most intense experience, or even just when you had something happen that kind of blew your mind, whether it was scary or just information based that happened, and you were like, "Holy crap, that coincides with the history." That you can share, because I know the show is pending, so you can't share anything from there. But
no, there is some good stuff. Like one that I know I can share, for example, and this is kind of fresh off my memory, but when we were at Bad Axe, what was really cool was Diet, the medium, was getting like a name of a, she was saying like, who is this man? Like, who's this, like, father or something? Like, we're looking for like a father figure. And on the spirit box, we catch like a name, but it's not in English. But upon further research, Larry knew some people who spoke some of the original, dialect, and were able to confirm that that was actually the way what you say for father, and in their tongue. And so that was really cool, because again, just anytime, I mean, you can, like, that stuff, well, we can't make up, right? None of us know what those words are. It's not in the spirit box database, however that works. It's like, this is a totally different language. It's a native language. It's an older language, and it's, and none of us knew what it was. And then when we were able to put those dots together, it was very, very cool. And then Sheboygan, what happened? What happened?
What happened in Sheboygan?
what hasn't
You guys
happened in Sheboygan?
That's a good question. You guys were giving tours. I wasn't part of it.
Well, Sheboygan was just like super active. We had a really good session downstairs where it was just very, very active. And like on the spirit box, we got, singing, and then like all of the REM pods going off. And that, to me, that was, thank you for bringing that up, Larry, because as an investigator, that was like the first time that where I almost kind of felt on edge, because, I can kind of like, Kara, just turn it off, like kind of be skeptic. But there was so much going on all at once that it kind of freaked me out a little bit, where I'm like, nobody's touching any of this. How is all of this happening? And like, yeah, we can't necessarily debunk it. There aren't any, power lines close that can explain this or whatever. So that was very cool as an investigator. And then I had a really cool experience at Brumder Mansion that time that I went. And I felt something followed me up from the basement, and then I saw a shadow go in front of me, and then like kind of disregarded the shadow, like, or kind of was processing the shadow, not really reacting to it, just like, what the hell was that? But I turned the corner, and then, so like 5 seconds after seeing the shadow, still trying to process it, I hear, "Hey," in my ear, just, "Hey."
Oh, wow.
A man's voice. And so for me, it's like when multiple things happen at the same time, I think that it convinces me a little bit more, and it just shakes me a little bit, because otherwise I feel like I hear this, or like, everybody hears something, or everybody feels something, and it's hard to keep track of what everybody's hearing and feeling. But then when you've got so much stuff going on at once, and you're like, everybody's looking at it, and I don't know what this is. So.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, when there's multiple people, whether it's a voice or what, like a direct voice phenomenon. That is my favorite, because I am obsessed with like that verification.
Yeah.
Because since I can turn it off so well, I don't trust my own senses.
Yeah.
Because
No, I agree. I think all the equipment has faults too. Like no matter what it is, like a lot of it's either subjective or, all the EMF stuff, something could get a false reading. So it is a lot more validating when, multiple things coincide with one another.
Definitely. Yeah. There's a skeptic in me and one other thing, like about, researching beforehand. One other thing I don't like to do is just have the history all researched and then be like, okay, now we're talking to Bill and Don and Joe because that's what I researched. And it's like, no, let's give whoever a chance to
come. Yeah. Like it could be Bill, but it could be a completely different Bill from a different time frame.
Well, we don't have a Bill here, but we do have a Phil here. So say what's up.
Yeah, Philly cheese in the
what's
house.
up, guys?
I said Phil.
Nice to meet you, ladies.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Heck yeah. Hopefully you're having fun tonight.
It's a blast.
I guess, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Hey, my cat hasn't taken a crap yet behind me, so
it's not fun yet.
It hasn't become an official podcast.
No, it's not fun yet.
Yeah, I used to co-host with Sean, but Mikey does so much better of a job than I do. So
I wouldn't say that, Phil. You're a classic, man.
It's hard making everybody's schedule to line up with everything anymore these days.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Especially, the guest schedule and then, our schedules. It's just it can definitely be difficult. Especially if last minute stuff happens as well. You guys know how it goes.
We sure do.
We sure do.
Oh man.
But we made it happen.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So do you guys ever come out to Chicago at all?
We have not.
We haven't yet. We'd like to.
So I think when are we going to meet you? I think it's going to be at ParisICon, right? You guys are sponsors.
Yeah, we'll be there. We've been there last 3 or 4 years now, and
so we'll be there too.
Okay.
At least I know what I will
be. Our buddy Ryan does a lot of our camera work. He worked for Devil Vision Media, which was their media for them. So now that he's kind of part of us, we're going to be their media sponsors and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
So
we'll for sure meet you then. May is going to come like that.
Yeah. I just got to see how babysitting works out, unfortunately.
Bring them along. I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
Again, bring the kid and see what happens.
That would be a horrible trip.
I've never even been at OSR. We meant actually last year, friends and I scheduled a trip, like at least in our own heads, we scheduled the trip, and I was like, man, the hotels are pretty expensive in Mansfield. Like, what is happening? It was the same weekend. And we said that was just when speaking of schedules, everything lined up. And I was like, we said, no, we're not doing this. So this year we'll be there.
We had an awesome Airbnb last year. We had like a game room downstairs and a gazebo and a fire pit. It was really nice. We had the paranormal Goose and Denise and all them. They all came and stayed with us too. It was
right on.
And that's that. Yes, we'll be there. Come on.
This place is beautiful.
If you need more people in the Airbnb, that's probably nicer than my hotel room. So we could always cancel the hotel room.
Get together again or something.
You let us know.
Yeah. These Paracons are so much fun. You guys, these weren't even on my radar a year ago, and I'm so thankful. Not to plug, but Paraflix, I wouldn't be doing it without Paraflix and Expedition City, and that's how I met Kara. I've met you guys, just meeting so many people in the community. I think it's been really cool to, I've always been into this, but just to be able to raise my freaking freak flag and be like, yes, stuff is awesome and fun and super cool. So, and we have a blast together. Kara's always like,
there's so much fun.
She's like, look what we're doing. Can you believe we're doing this?
Icon and Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. That's another good one.
Kara.
That looks so much fun. I know. That's we have for sure ParisICon coming up. So like you guys, we're going to be at Spirits in the Spring. So that's a local one. That's in Wisconsin, Broadhead Manor, Nick Sarlo, and Paraflix is one of the sponsors. So speaking of Paraflix, and all the people, like all the awesome speakers and guests there. I'm so excited because there's so many people, right? You meet them on podcasts and Zoom and, just social media. So to actually face to face, when we went, speaking of Sheboygan, we go to Sheboygan and people like come up and just hug me and I'm like, oh, but then you like look up and you're like, I know you, but we didn't meet until today. I love that. I'm obsessed with that. So, I'm going to try to make it out to the Bell Mansion for the 28 Days Haunted event. So if anybody can get there, but that's for sure. And then Sheboygan, we'll be back out to Sheboygan for the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference too. So those we know for sure.
Yep. And then there's a Madtown one in Madison.
Yes.
By Ali Krause Productions. And that's going to be in Madison. And that's going to be a cool one because it actually is like a cross between it's going to be paranormal, but then there's a big musician like party that night. So musicians are going to be playing. So that's kind of neat to, get to do music and the paranormal together.
And I'm going to be there if it's not snowing because I'm a big wuss. I grew up in Chicago and I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I have none of that toughness in me with snow. So I will be there if it's not snowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Tower Paranormal.
Hi.
Oh, you don't have. I grew up in Texas, and the snow. I remember the first time when I first moved out here, my dad was like, "Paige, you'll be fine. Just go out and drive in it."
Yeah.
And I did, and I freaking wrecked.
Well, that's so right. Like I've been generally fine with it. I lived in Michigan where West Michigan, they don't really plow. They just sand. Maybe nowadays it's been many years since I've lived there, but like I had it for like an all-wheel drive Outback and you could still just go spinning on the side streets because it's just a layer of ice. And so that destroyed me, like where it just snows 4 inches every day. And I was like, I give up. So once I moved back to Chicago, I was like, I don't like it. I don't like snow.
It's funny.
I'm a big wuss about it. So I'm like, I could just stay home. So I reserve the right for this Madison thing with Allie. I reserve the right to stay home, but I do plan to be there if possible. No snow. It doesn't snow anymore in Chicago. It's fine.
Like 70 degrees.
You're lucky. We always hit the March snow. Anytime we have a
February,
March.
It still does that.
Oh yeah.
It melts quick in March.
Yeah.
We went to the Hinsdale house. What was that? Was that this past March or the March before? I can't remember.
That was this past one.
Okay, they all blend together.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even supposed to snow, and it was in March, and like, we were planning on hitting all the outdoor locations on site, and it was freezing. The pond, I wanted to go in there and do some weird stuff. It was frozen over. I wanted to go on the ice, but I wasn't allowed to.
No.
It was a good thing that none of these things happened. Okay.
Probably. I don't do a lot of
Glad people were watching out for you because I feel like you would have made bad decisions.
Yeah.
The year before we went to Crescent and we had a big snowstorm too.
That was the worst. We went to Crescent Prison and it was like, if there's anything here, can you make a noise? Whoosh! Like a tornado coming through. And it was like, oh man, this is horrible.
Oh, you're in there.
And those prisons get cold.
Oh,
in the winter. Cold.
Yep. So what are your favorite type of locations? Like, I'm assuming prisons for you, Kara.
A little like prisons, abandoned. Don't send me into like a nice house with like heating and like nice antique things that are nice. I want paint peeling. I just want gross. And I want all of that. I want old, abandoned, like kind of like mix it with urban exploring, like some urbex in there. I love that. And colors and just everything. That's my favorite.
Is that for you as well, Paige?
That's scary. I don't like that. No, Sheboygan, because that was my first time going to a location. Like it was an old, as they called it back then, an old lunatic asylum, but it's the Sheboygan County Asylum. Definitely check out tours there. That place is phenomenal. But that's what you were describing. That was my first time really being in like an abandoned, scary, huge, dark place like that. And I think maybe that was another reason I thought that was maybe that's why I was so surprised to see all the activity, right? Because I was like, whoa, it was just a ton.
Yeah.
But no, for me, like I can say we just went to the Swiss Tinker Cottage Museum, family Swiss Tinker Cottage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I watched the videos on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That to me is like dead and gone to heaven. Just, I mean, that museum is like 98%. It's something incredible. It's an anomaly. It's like 98% or 90% of all the original artifacts. It's insane. Like you just don't go to a place and see 90% of artifacts anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that I had a hard time investigating because I was just like, oh, look at all the history.
Yeah. Get distracted by everything. Yeah.
So
like Jen is in the antique store. She's looking for stuff while we're trying to investigate.
I know.
That was funny.
So between Kara and I, we just
we'll find. No, even at Sheboygan. So I happen to not be on one that Expedition Entity and Paige were, running. I went to an earlier one, and some of us even just like went and just explored other areas once we got to the tunnels. Like they had us otherwise just like sit in the tunnels. We're like, this feels uncomfortable. So we ran off and explored other stuff. And so it's definitely like that urban exploration combined with it. So I love that.
Yeah.
So we'll cover everything, but I still haven't made it to Tinker Cottage. So I can't wait to do that either.
I can't wait to go back. Yeah, we're going to go back.
We'll go back.
Places. Yep.
Yeah, it seemed like just with the small clips that I was able to watch while my job was going crazy around me, it seemed like you guys did get some pretty cool activity just in the small clips that I saw. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, very, very cool place. But that's my I grew up. My dad was a West Point grad, and so I grew up with like military history, and like when we traveled, we always traveled off the beaten path, and so we would go to all of these really obscure historical landmarks and battlefields, and so those always just castles. We went to Europe, almost every summer or almost every year there for a while. Was really fortunate to be able to do that and just pick up European military history. I love that stuff. I love it. So. But prisons, but
yeah.
I think just because I'm a weenie, I'm scared of them.
I like going to them. As far as investigating, though, I'm more into the mystery or dark places, just because I'm trying to figure out what we're interacting with in a way.
I like the very relaxed ones that nothing bad's here, but something is here. It's like cool, okay.
Yeah.
Like the dark portal, like my
I'm slowly kind of coming out of that comfort zone a little bit too, So
I've been proud of you, Philly Cheese.
What's that?
I said I've been proud of you, Philly Cheese. I feel like the pickle jar incident where the woman was supposedly thrown was like your low point on timid. But now you've hit up like the Bel Air house, the Monroe house. Like you're getting better. You're getting better. I'm proud of you.
The thing is too, like I was so timid about going to the Bel Air house, like, but once I got there, I just felt like home because I'm a homebody by nature, and I just love homes. I don't know why. And once I walked in, I'm like, this place is amazing, and nothing ever happened after I left. Nothing bad, so I got very lucky about that.
Yeah. Wait, well, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump there, but what am I talking? Hotels. Old hotels are my favorite.
You love hotels. Yeah. What are we talking about?
I know. My TikTok account is called History Haunts Hotels. So
yeah, that is your thing.
I don't know. But Expedition Entity just keeps taking me away from me because hotels are hard to investigate, guys.
They are. They really are.
As bad as
I don't like them just because it's like there's like people next door and like you can't unless you rent out the entire thing and it's a smaller hotel. It's really difficult.
It's too expensive.
Yeah, exactly. These places are expensive enough. Like a whole hotel, it's difficult.
We investigated the Tin Lizzy, which is a restaurant bar.
I was about to say,
area. It was complete noise the whole time. It was hard to investigate there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the bar was open during the majority of the investigation. So it's like, yeah.
We
still had some cool things happen. But yeah, it was hard.
It was still, it was a lot going on.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No,
And I agree. Hotels, if you could get one without people in it, I feel like that would have the most energy because there's so many people going through there and like so many random deaths. Like
And the emotions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my
Like,
buddy, Out of the Blank podcast, I'll give Robbie a shout out. He used to work at a hotel in Ocean City,
Mhm.
and
oh,
he went into a room and he saw a box of pizza that was like pretty much untouched. So he just started eating it because he was younger. And then the police came in and a woman actually just committed suicide and he was eating her pizza.
get out of here.
No, seriously. It's wild.
So the important question is, has he ever eaten a pizza that wasn't his again?
You know
Or
what?
did
I
he
did
learn?
not ask him that follow-up question.
I think
Next time
that's
I'm
the
on his
most
podcast,
important.
I'll ask him that.
Oh my goodness.
That's what we all need to know here.
Yeah.
Right.
Better be good pizza. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, he said it was pretty fresh. It wasn't too bad. At least he described it a little
Just
bit.
killed
but-
herself.
Yeah, it was fresh. I don't know.
Again, it's not the ghosts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the ghosts we got to
exactly.
watch out for. It's the living people.
Yeah.
I think I'd at least wait until after I ate the pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I did investigate Rhodes Hotel in Atlanta, Indiana, and that was, on an old like civil, 1800 late 1800s on an old rail line and about 10 rooms in it, and it was just, oh my gosh, you have the energy. I mean, suicides and brothels, and it's just this. I feel the reason I love hotels is it's just the stories that they can tell, right? Because everybody is passing through with a completely different life story a gazillion times over. And it's just, I mean, so that to me, like even just going to modern hotels, I get there's an energy to them, but no, I'm at the Congress in Chicago. Kara knows I'm always at the Congress.
Yes. She was like, how did we forget this?
He's like, hi, I'm here again. And or the Palmer, the Drake, I mean, Chicago, but again, these are huge, huge hotels and the history is wonderful. A lot of them were built for the World's Fair and sadly, it's just hard to investigate them. I just sit in a room and just kind of, hey, so, but that's enough. That's all I need. For me, it's like just kind of being part of history.
That's like we went to, me and Jen went to the Conneaut Hotel. We've been there a bunch of times. But the one time that we went, they actually had a bluegrass festival going on. So they had people in the hallways playing banjos and just like singing this random shit. Like there was no way we were getting anything done.
No.
No.
No, but the funny
It's
thing,
funny 'cause-
probably as they were doing all of that, as all of that life was happening, there probably was, a
Yeah,
lot of
the energy was
interaction.
probably-
You just weren't going to get it
Yeah.
because it was so loud. But like the spirits loved it, I bet. I
But
bet
even,
that
like,
was the time to get something.
Yeah, like they had that going on in the hallways, and then we went down the bar, and then they're playing rap in the bar, bluegrass in the hallways, and rap in
Oh my goodness. Sounds like a good time.
the bar.
So I always ask everybody this. What do you feel that we're interacting with? Do you feel that it's energy that has been at this location and is just replaying history or personifying itself based on the people that have been at that location? Or do you think we're actually interacting with, I guess, the energy of deceased people?
I'll go because I'll keep it real simple.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in like the multiverse. Like we're fifth, like we are, it is all energy, and to me, it's not simple. Like you die and then you just start haunting a place. It's like I could be haunting a place right now, right? Like, and I think that does happen, and
just by imprinting your energy or whatever.
Yeah. So to me, it is all energy. I am a big believer in the residual energy. That makes sense to me. Just kind of like going on autopilot, the intellectual, like totally, I don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like, what? But I do. I think it's like a parallel universe type of situation. And a lot of them, I don't think the dead are dead, guys. That's mine. All right, Kara, you go.
So mine is kind of saying it's all of it, but it's all of it at once. So I grew up with a haunting. It was a woman, I'm an only child. They had one daughter. She was blonde. I was blonde for real, not with help when I was little. And so we lived in this house. I had her bedroom, and it was 100% her that was there. And it was, I don't think that was just residual. And I think she really left when I was like 12-ish, whether she thought I was okay. It felt like she was said, okay, I'm good. You're good. I'm going to go now. But maybe that's when her husband died or something. So there's that conscious. But I do believe, again, I spent a lot of time in a really haunted place. And there was one area that the guards would walk that you would just see the guards walking. They would just, bye, Larry. They would just walk. They weren't conscious. They weren't doing anything. They were just walking and talking like they would at work. There was, you would see shadows just where people would walk. You would see, or you would feel them touch, under the table in the inmate dining room or cafeteria. You would feel, some people would feel like touching knees, because that's where notes and contraband would get passed. Is that residual or conscious? Maybe just kind of residual. But at the same time, they could also, with a spirit box or Estes or whatever, interact really intelligently. There was my favorite. I have a lot of experiences, and there's doppelgangers, a lot of experiences there. But my favorite, probably, I had my most vivid experience, the first I will say, it was with a guard. It was clearly a guard. And so now I just kind of affectionately call him my guard. And there was a Estes method. Sam Beltrusis was there, and he had somebody, eyes shut, ears with the Estes method. And he was able to interact and knew, was able to say my name, was able to say, that he was a guard. And one of my best friends that also was there that would run the tours too, said he didn't like him, and he would, because he's a guy, he likes the ladies, right? So he didn't like him and told him to leave. And so Rob is his name, walked to the end of the gallery, didn't leave it, just stood there, was like, okay, I'm gone, whatever. And like with the Estes method, she said, no, you have to go. And knew that he wasn't gone.
Mhm.
And so everything leading up to that point was already just so darn cool. I was like, oh my God, this is like an intelligent interaction. But the fact that like this woman, with everything covered so far down, not even looking up, knew that he didn't leave the gallery. That's just amazing to me. And later that night, I was with Chris Fleming with it was a necrophonic app, but saying like our names. And a friend of mine that was also there, she's pretty short. Her name's Nikki. She goes, well, what's my name? Why didn't you say me? And it just goes short. And we just, died laughing. And so there's definitely like those intelligence. So I think it's just a combination of all of it. Some of it is we're going to replay time and just bounce back at ourselves. Who's, the classic who's haunting who. Yeah. And some of it is just that residual, because we're going to hold on to it in these limestone buildings with water running underneath, and some of it is intelligent. So I think it is like that fifth dimension. It just all is everything. We're everything all at once. And we're into it, some more than others.
That was always my thing, like with the intelligent hauntings, like the residual I get, the intelligent hauntings, it's like, all right, if you're interacting with, I always give the example, now I forget his name, George in the basement at Hillview Manor. He was a maintenance man, died there. Why is it that after he died, he interacts intelligently, not just residual, in the basement? Like, was it always there, that energy that you could interact with intelligently, even while he was still alive? Why would it wait till he passes away in order to just magically manifest in this area and be able to interact? So
Did he love being there so much, or does he just like not feel like he can leave?
I mean, he was a maintenance man, so I'm pretty sure he probably didn't like it too much. And it's the creepy basement in the boiler room. So
hey, it was his spot. And
maybe
he really maintained it.
Yeah, he was proud. Hey, I respect anyone that loves their job and does a good job at it. So, but that was always my thing. Is like it. And I actually wanted to, but I didn't get a chance to, because my grandma and my grandparents, they owned a hotel in town where I'm at now. And I was trying to get in there while my grandma was still alive to see if I could possibly interact with her, even though she wasn't deceased. And I had a couple interactions with the owner, but I never got in. And, you know, obviously I didn't make it. She did pass away a couple years back, but I wanted to just test it. Like, do you have to be dead in order to interact intelligently with somebody?
Right.
Well, and it depends. So speaking of Diet, the medium, I'm a nurse and so is she. So I'm obsessed. Every time I see her, I have a new question to ask. Like, where is their soul when this is happening or whatever? And that is something she and I have talked about. There's, you know, points that where our brains get to a point that maybe we're not as attached to our bodies as we once were. And we are out interacting and we are able to do these things. And so that's also a factor too, that maybe we're just not as attached while we're still alive.
Yeah.
Or then you have conversations like I had with Chris Fleming at the bar that night after the pop-up Paracon. He swears that he remembers, like, and I hate telling his story, but I mean, I don't think he'd mind, but he remembers himself haunting himself when he was younger, right? So like, he got a message from his future
Yes.
Yeah.
But he didn't realize it until he was his future self, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He does tell that story. You're right.
Wow.
So, you know, it's just,
I literally just talked about this last podcast. Like, can you haunt yourself? Like, is there a way that you can do that?
Well, I mean, there's even, I think, like doppelgangers and stuff too. Like, I know
Yes.
the home case that we did, her son was claiming that, I guess the son's friend was talking to him in the basement. And later on, like, he was like, yeah, you know, blah, 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 talking about what they were talking about. He's like, yeah, I was never downstairs talking to you. I don't know what you're talking about. So, like, stuff like that. And, you know, they say, like, you see your doppelganger, like, you could end up dying, stuff like that. But, like, because I know that's a thing with Hillview, too, is with doppelganger is, like, a thing out there.
Yeah.
Joliet Correctional Center, big on doppelgangers, voices and seeing them, like, big on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
we
is
had
that a good thing, a bad thing?
through-
I don't know. It's cool.
We had a lot come through the spirit box at the Bel Air house. I don't think it was last time, but the time before, we heard one of our teammates' voices, and I think it imitated my laugh. Was that at the Bel Air house?
Monroe in the
Monroe
basement.
house. Yeah. And at Bel Air, it was April's voice. It sounded exactly like her, and she was sleeping upstairs. So it was pretty wild when you have those moments.
So then is that like intelligent, or is it, I'm not going to use the D word, but is that like maybe an elemental trying to interact, or is that just somebody that like is just kind of a jerk, you know, like when they were alive and they're like, this will get them.
Yeah.
They will really lose it. And
yeah, and that's what I mean. We don't know what it is, and even if it's like coming through as a prison guard or coming through someone that was historically tied to that location,
no idea really.
Is it just the energy personifying itself because it knows the history, because it was there to witness the history, and is it now just coming through as these people that were there in the past?
Oh, they'll trust me if, you know, whatever. Yeah.
No.
That's interesting. I did necrophonic once, and I heard my dad's been, you know, deceased for a few years, and I heard his voice, and I got really emotional. But then I had somebody, you know, and I was new to this, and I had somebody tell me, well, it could be a spirit intimidating your dad, and I'm like, what? I mean, that's who knows? None of us.
None of us. And that's why all of this is so interesting, right? Like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun to think about. And I could get started on the whole spirituality thing, because I feel like, you know, my higher self talks to myself, my present self, all the time. And so I feel like I'm energetically kind of displaced in a few different areas, you know, and that's just something that it provides me comfort too, because it's like when I die, I don't think I'm going to be sticking around, you know, in the basement of your house, a Philly basement or whatever it is.
The Pittsburgh basement. Come on, don't say
basement.
It's a Pittsburgh body. It's not a Philly body. You don't want to go there. That would be dirty. No offense to anybody in Philly, but
that was as bad as going to Cleveland.
Yeah, jeez.
But I know for sure I'm not, you know, no, I don't know anything for sure. Never mind.
You don't know. You might be Oh, hi, Sierra.
Mom.
I think that's at you.
Me?
Mom for Sierra?
She's
Sierra,
like,
clarify.
I love it.
I'm like doing the math. How much older am I than you, Sierra?
Oh, her mom just got on. It's neither one of us. Woo.
Well, then I was like, so Sierra is one of my castmates on Expedition Entity. And so trying to figure that out. But she kind of takes care of me. She's so organized, and I'm just along for the ride most of the time in life. Like, what am I doing?
So she's the actual mom in the situation.
She totally is. She takes care of me. She gives me Tylenol, and she makes sure that I,
Hydrate.
and stuff. So yeah.
Well, Paige, I think you just doomed yourself. You're going to end up haunting a Pittsburgh basement at some point. So.
Oh no!
Yeah, great.
Just hope it's not a gross one. Like it's not the one at the bottom of the steps that Sean was
At the bottom of the steps. That's what I was picturing. Just that one.
I have 3 sons. If there was a toilet at the bottom of the
What happens with those toilets.
Oh yeah.
Is it hard raising 3 boys?
Yeah. Kara knows. I was just at the emergency room.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I feel like the three really ups the ante. I have 2, and I think 3 really is like
It's
an exponential multiplier. It's even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
and
one, and he's enough. So I can imagine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But they're cool. They came with me to Broadhead Manor, and which was their first haunted location. Well, no, I took them to a few historical sites, but Broadhead Manor for their first kind of tour, ghost tour. And 2 of them, I think, kind of had experiences, although they won't admit it. But one of them was like, "Oh, I just saw a face. I just saw a face." I know it.
Yeah.
So, and then they never talked about it again. So
They shall never speak of it again.
No, so.
He used you as bait, kids. Everything will be all right.
Right.
Matt has a question here for you guys. He asked earlier.
Oh.
Also, Yins is the Pittsburgh dialect, just so you know. It's like the Pittsburgh you all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a favorite tool? I'm gonna be really quick. No, not really. Just me, because I think I'll say I enjoy a good old necrophonic app, because it's fun, it's easy. I always have my phone, and sometimes it's fun stuff. It's especially fun, I think, when you're with a group of people, that it's just, you feel like you're really talking to whoever it is, to them, I'll say. But I'm not huge on the tools and stuff. I'm really big on just kind of look up, don't look down, don't look. As I've been kind of leading, or at least co-leading a lot of tours, I watch a lot of people stare at a lot of devices and get really into all of the equipment they brought that probably cost a lot of money, and they get really concerned about it. And at the end, inevitably, every single one of them says, "There's nothing here. I got nothing. This is terrible." And I go, "That's too bad, because I saw stuff all night." So I'm big on not things, but that doesn't make for a good TV show, does it? So
yeah,
I like just watching.
Yeah. And that's what, before I became a part of Expedition Entity, I would go to hotels and literally just sit in my room and wait, and observe and just feel the energy. Because I'm also, I think, intuitive and, can turn it on or off. But again, I think everybody is, because again, everything's energy. But, so that to me, I totally agree with Kara. I think there's a lot to be said about trusting ourselves rather than, and for me, I love the show, and anything that we can get to help, tell the story and to show evidence is fantastic. But before the show, finding evidence really wasn't it for me. It was the history and just kind of being present in the moment with whatever's left there. And but it's really neat to tap into this now with the tools and get to, I mean, but gosh, y'all have like crazy tools. And, like,
Yeah.
It's true. There's so many. There's all these options.
yeah. So, and it's neat because there's some that I trust better than others, and I do love the necrophonic and dowsing rods. I'm not too sure on yet. I've got mixed emotions about.
I think you need to do something like in addition to dowsing rods.
Maybe like alongside it, supplemental.
Yeah, like we talked about doing an Estes method while doing the dowsing rods, and just different techniques, because I feel like it's too subjective if the person can hear what the questions are.
Right.
So I'll say there was speaking of Sheboygan, when we were in like the hospital hallway, I ended up with the dowsing rods. I'm not a dowsing rod fan. Like I'm just like, okay. But I don't know how we came to this conclusion. I'm a little like fuzzy on all of this because a lot happened that night, but there was like one nurse from one era and another nurse from another era. And they literally like answered differently on the two sides, but appropriately for being nurses. And I don't even remember, again, fuzzy because a lot happened that night, but I give it a little credibility after that experience. I was like, wow, like how are they, even if I was doing it just like in my head, that's two to keep track of, even because I have a hard time trusting it because I'm like, okay, you didn't just twist your hand. You didn't just. Yeah. But they were different enough and appropriate and different answers for the two hands. And I don't think I was going to keep track of that as well as to actual spirits interacting. So I do give a little credit to that, even though I really didn't before that.
Now, were they interacting with each other?
Like there was questions that were like appropriate for their time. Like one was like more 80s, I believe it was, and one was like 50s-ish for when they were around, which would be appropriate for the location. And it wasn't even so much together, that's hard to say, but they would answer questions differently based on their era. And, one would say yes, one would say no. And yeah, interaction, I don't know, because that's probably too hard to calculate through
dowsing rods. Yeah.
It's the only thing I think that you can like manipulate, like dowsing rods, a Ouija board, a pendulum, even table. Like it's cool visually, but like what's to say, who do you trust,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I say, like, I think because it was the two of them, I was like, I don't think I'm coming up with this. Like, because I even doubt if I'm holding it, am I just making this up? Am I saying yes? Because it's a little twitch of your hand. And so even if it's me, I'm like, even as you're like on a Ouija board, am I pushing it? I don't know. My hand's there.
And I've actually Ouija boards too. And I didn't believe in them, and I know a lot of people are still kind of iffy with them. But like the times that I have done them, like I can barely even hold the damn thing half the time because I'm trying to keep my arms as still as I can, and it's always had a fantastic experience. And my buddy Troy has as well. And because whenever I do it, I'm always like trying to read what the hell it's saying, and I thought barely touching the thing would make it different. But I'm trying to hold on to the damn thing, and it keeps like,
Yeah. No, it's been forever. I would love to like do a Ouija board again because so many people won't, and I just haven't like had that experience lately. That was like a fun kid thing.
I've got one upstairs. My son and I just tried it. Nothing happened. I tried it with my girlfriends too. Nothing happened. And to me, I'm like, what's going on? And so then I start doubting myself again. But I'm with you. I've had those times where I mean, it is flying all over the board. Nobody's hands can keep on it. Like you're watching people's hands all blue, and it's just kind of flying. And so
my left wrist the one night whenever we were at the Bel Air or the Ross house, it hurt so bad by the time I was done because you're like trying to like keep it from like moving. I have never felt so much pain in my wrist after I was done.
Right.
One of these days, Paige, it's a date. I don't know where, I don't know when.
Bad. I know. As soon as you said that, Phil, Sean just smiled, and I was like, all right.
Stop.
Him and I are the same level.
We all tried to ignore that. Stop.
Yeah. We're being good. We're being good. Now, if this were Matt's episode when he was our last guest, we probably would have said some vulgar shit.
Yeah, I walked into that one, so I'm not gonna lie.
No, Sean and I, like, I mean, both of us are cursed. We never have interaction with a Ouija board. We've tried so many times, and it's just nothing happens. I
We
mean,
did have the
Some would
table
say
that-
that's the opposite of a curse, but
yeah, I guess, yeah.
I mean, you know, I had the perfect interaction with our buddy Nick's daughter, Gabby. And then, of course, Troy and I did, you know, have the same interaction twice. And it's always been something. I don't know if it's just like, I was terrified of them, to be honest with you, because, you know, they get a bad reputation, you know.
Yeah.
But if you go in anything with a respectful mindset and no expectation, you'd be surprised what can happen. You know, it's like, all right, give it a shot. Because our buddy Randall did it too with Gabby. I'm like, well, I may as well try it out. Then that thing was moving like lightning.
So I used to make my own Ouija boards growing up. Yeah. So I had an influence. No, always. But I had a Wiccan friend that influenced me when I was in middle school, where she was like, we don't buy them, you know, like we go and we get bored and, you know, just plywood or something. And then I think we use like measuring cups sometimes as the pointer, you know, just kind of like whatever we had around. But you're right. It's like, doesn't matter really what it is. It's just the intention and the ritual, right? And the respect and, you know, I think we have to go into everything kind of with everything that's unknown. Like, who are we to go into something unknown and be like, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to scream at this empty room and see what happens.
Part of it's the belief, though, too. Like, if you don't believe that it's going to work, I don't think it's going to work.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that the way you did it, Paige, I think is probably a more legitimate way because it doesn't have Hasbro at the bottom corner of it.
But you write that on there,
that's
too.
how most of us Ouija.
Yeah, okay. I'm not judging.
And you can also tailor it to however you want, you know? So like a lot of times I would write like, are you from the light? Like if you're, you know, from the light, you know, over here, from the dark over here, or get out of here, just but also, you know, having different types of responses, like, you know, other than just yes, no, maybe, and then just being able to spell something
letters.
Yeah. So, you know, I can't remember. It's been forever since I've done it. And like I said, the last few times I've done it, it hasn't worked. But I think I've been with people who don't believe in it. You know?
Yeah. I think that's Sean and I's issue for sure. But we when we tried it, it failed. But we had a spirit box on and we were getting responses through that. We just weren't getting anything through the actual Ouija.
Have you guys ever tried table tipping before?
No.
Because me and Mikey have done that before. We did it at the antique store. And I don't mean, it could just be like your hands are getting tired, but it seemed like we were getting responses. Like the thing was tipping different directions as we were like telling it to do. And it's, you know, same type of thing, like a divination tool, you know?
Yeah, I felt like it was an endurance test though, because it seemed like
it didn't show up.
So you're holding up a table?
There was four of us, and
Yeah,
you're supposed to like. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but the way we were doing was like hold it with your fingertips, kind of like, you know, like the light as a feather.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Yes,
that works too.
It totally works
too. Yeah.
Yes, totally true.
Dude, we forgot to do that at the Bel Air house. We were gonna do it with Sean because he's like the biggest dude, and there's no way that like me
it
and
will
the rest
work.
of the crew
It
could
will
do it.
still work.
Yeah.
I haven't done it. I was like 13, but it will work. I have faith.
I never did it before.
It's kind of the same type of thing, like just to use a table instead of a person.
Yeah.
Okay. That does seem like an endurance thing with the table, though.
Yeah,
it seems very easy to wiggle that. Or you need more than 4 people. I feel like 4 people is very like, yes.
It was like a small card table type of
At one point, it did feel like something was on it, like at certain edges, and we were asking to make it heavier on certain areas for yes or no. And there were a couple of times where it seemed like a little heavier, but again, that's, you know, very subjective and an endurance test because we
had a psychic too that was pretty spot on with a lot of stuff watching us too, and she was kind of corresponding with what was going on. Yeah. She's gone joined us several times on lives and really said some stuff that was spot on without knowing the history of a location. We'd go to like an obscure place and she would still be able to intelligently give us information, and we would
back it up with the tools. So
I love when psychics can do that. Like that, I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah.
That is just like magic.
yeah,
A better than,
because I
like
question a lot of them. I mean, it's hard not to. But when
Yeah.
None of them, if not more than that.
yeah,
Well, right. And I mean, just like anything else, there's going to be ones that are not authentic. But when you found a good one that you can trust, it's just, it's gold. It's gold.
yeah.
I have to tap into my skills a little bit more. I'm not quite there where I feel like I could go to a place and, really tap into things, but slowly but surely, maybe.
We'll work on it. Yeah, no, I can just usually kind of like sense like good or bad or welcoming or not but that's easy.
Yeah, right,
Like
right.
that's not hard, I don't think. But yeah, to actually like hear more, every now and again I hear, some things like, oh, you might want to bring this with today or whatever, like little things, but not enough to be significant, not enough to go into a strange place and know things.
Yeah.
Right.
I think like when I was younger, I would sense stuff more because like I know even like at Conneaut Park because it's in Pennsylvania. It's not far from where I live. We used to go there for family reunions and that. And one of the things that happened to me there is I was a little kid. I was on a water slide, went down the water slide, stopped at the end, and I could sense something bad was about to happen. My dad ended up coming over top me and was drowning me. But like stuff like that, like I don't know if it's like near death or what it was, but when I was a little kid, I could sense stuff like that. Now that I'm older, like it doesn't seem like it works anymore.
Shut it off.
Yeah.
There's too much noise. There's too many other things, and you don't have the time to listen to all that other stuff.
I used to swear when I was a kid, I could close my eyes. And I mean, I still swear this as an adult. Like I could close my eyes and see what was going on in front of me, like completely like normal. And I just remember being a kid, like, oh, how weird is this,
Yeah.
but also not like thinking how weird this is, and then lose
like lucid dream stuff too, like
Yeah.
I used to have lucid dreams all the time. Not as much anymore, but when I was younger, I used to always have them.
I always did, and that was what I thought dreaming was until somebody said, like, oh, like describe, oh, I had this lucid dream and described it. And I was like, that's dreaming. And they were like, no.
You're like,
For me,
well,
it
that's
is.
my dreaming.
That's how I dream. And that's, yeah, no. And it's wild. And that's, I would be really interested between like, not just all of us that are here tonight, but like just kind of across people that are really interested in the paranormal and investigate how many of us have had all those experiences that maybe other people haven't, that we think, like, and again, it's like, I can't get enough. I got to learn more. I got to come back to it.
Right.
That's even like they say like with dreaming, that like, I guess most people don't dream in color. I'm pretty sure I've always dreamed in color.
I
Really?
always have.
I never heard that. That's wild.
Yeah,
I've heard that. No, I have.
Really?
I dream in color.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dream in like brighter.
I don't know. Maybe it's like people that have their mind more open or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
that would be like super interesting. Like, yeah, are we? And then we find people like, right? We found people that we have this in common with, and we think this is pretty normal. Of course, we all dream in color, but does the rest of all those people think that? That's a really interesting question.
Well, even my mom, I keep telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, you are very highly intuitive. And she's like, no, I'm not. And I was like, Mom, you just predicted like your son was going to call. Like you just predicted that and your phone rang. She's like, that's mother's intuition. I'm like, yes. But she since I've been little, has seen her dead brother in the house with us. And now that my dad's dead, like he's, curls up next to her in bed. But my mom still will never admit that that's unusual. You know what I mean? Like so I still can't really have this conversation with her about the paranormal because she's like, that's just what
normal.
it is. It's normal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but don't you want to explore that more? And she doesn't.
Because it's normal. Like if you think this is totally normal stuff, I even like my mom, she would hear, the Mrs. Bauer, the ghost I grew up with, she would hear her talking to me. She would hear me talking back. So she would hear this woman and I'd be like, why would you not like I don't know,
Check on
bust
you.
into my room. I don't know, like
yeah,
something.
see why I'm talking to this
Hear
lady.
about this. I don't know. And she's like, because it was just never a threat. It wasn't a problem. And she goes, like, and she remembered, like, now that we've been talking about this more, she's like, yeah, I would hear the lot next to the house I grew up in was empty for a little while. She goes, yeah, I would just hear like men camping out. Like it was a farm basically once upon a time. She would hear them just like they were sitting around a fire, drinking, smoking, whatever, you know, like what guys do at night around a fire. She's like, I would just hear that.
Damn.
Are you
I think
kidding?
I think I would investigate that to make sure it's not actual people out there.
No, she would,
doing it.
I think, like looked, you know, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Nothing was happening because it was a quick look out the window, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was nothing. And she didn't think anything of it. It was perfectly normal. Like, and on my mom's side, it's, you know, they'll just say very calmly, was that house haunted? Oh yeah, I saw so-and-so doing something. And we think it's all so normal. And so growing up, I thought this was all so normal. And then I find out it's not. And, you know, when I kind of stepped away and kind of shut it off more, and that's when I was like, oh man, I wish I had that ability I had when I was younger. Like that's my next, when I have some free time, whenever that happens, I'm going to like work on that, take those classes, like work on actually tapping into that, like in a safe, healthy way.
Yeah.
Cause I know I can, I just haven't in a long time.
That's interesting because the man that I married was very like, I mean, basically my love of all of this squashed, you know, like I just, you know, because he laughed at it, you know, he just thought it was ridiculous. And so, and plus I was a raging alcoholic. I've been sober 6 years, but like, I also lost it then too, you know, yeah, you shut it off. You totally you can ignore it, shut it off. It's like any noise, whatever. I'm not going to think about it. But then like now when I really tap into it, it's just like, you know, you get the chills and you got to wonder what it is, you know, now I'm paying more attention, I guess. So, but some people just are fine having it turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
no, and it's so easy not to listen to. Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you feel that like paranormal or supernatural things are always occurring? It's just we're not always looking for it. You know what I mean? Like people don't know to look for it. And there could be occurrences happening at all times, you know, everywhere. And it's just we're just not able to see it fully just because while we do look for it, we may notice it more often than a regular person, but we're still not seeing the full scope of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Look at, you know, the UFOs and we've got everything that's going on with that. It's the scope, I think, of supernatural is beyond our grasp. You know, I think it's immeasurable. So
it's that whole like dimension at work all the time doing what it's doing. We're just usually not quiet enough. You know, there's where I work, there is a smaller unit, like a smaller section of our unit that sometimes is closed. Sometimes it's been a long time. We've been very busy. And when I walk through there, when it's closed, there is 100%. And there's some other people that can like see things and, you know, we'll talk about it. We agree on what room it is. 100% in that room, there is something, but it's only when it's closed and it's quiet and all the lights aren't. That's why we like going to these places in the dark, because we have a chance to like kind of shut off all of that noise and actually like see it and hear it. When it's a little darker, it's not dark, just all the lights aren't blaringly on. There aren't a bunch of noises and voices. That's when we like shut it down enough that we can actually like perceive this other stuff. So no, I think it's always going on. In some areas more than others, you know, there's other areas that have no activity because they're not going to. But when we're just quiet enough, sitting in that hotel room by ourselves, you know, it's quiet enough. A unit that's closed so the lights aren't so bright and just quiet enough, we get a chance. And not everybody gets that chance. I think just some of us, we get a chance to be like, that's right. Something is always happening here.
Yeah, especially
when you're more open to it. Yeah, when you're more open to stuff, it seems like stuff would happen too. Like Mikey and Phil both know that I used to be a custodian at a school, and I'd get there early in the morning, 5:30 in the morning or so, when no one's there, and it's just dark and quiet. And like, I'd have stuff happen sometimes. Like, I'd have like stuff fall off the walls, or lockers would open, stuff like that. It's just me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like the power of silence is a very powerful tool. It really is. It's like, this is a really random example. My grandfather even like brought up a point to me years ago when we were driving, and he's like, if you ever want to know how your car sounds, turn the radio off, turn the air off, and you'd be surprised what you're going to hear.
Yes.
By other stimuli, and it's just like whenever you're listening to somebody talk, just in everyday life, just listen, you're going to end up picking up on a lot of things you didn't realize were said. That's pretty cool. It's all a big learning experience too.
And I think for me, it's just like at any given point, we are standing, on millions of billions of years of history, right? And like,
Yes.
Just the stories that can be told, and just what's happened there in the past. It's like, even here, it's like Chicago is just a freaking, like, a Chicago history is just a blip in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and that's even with Chicago. I'm sure so many areas too. I thought of this I walked all the dogs today, so I was out, but the walk is along a very old canal that actually Abraham Lincoln's body went along, like for the train along that canal, but started as a Native American route that started as, so even so many of our roads or so many of our, buildings are based on these old paths. And that's probably for so many of these old cities, in America, of course. But these, so I was walking down this path and I just kind of looked out and saw some modern stuff, but I was like, how many, like just that like history moment of how many people have walked like right here, and what did they look out and see, and what was this like, and the water was higher then, or this or that and the other. And so even as we say, we talk about the history, oh, got to know the history, and it's going to be this Bill or maybe even Phil, but we have no idea, who it is we're tapping into. This could just be somebody from, 500 years ago that happened to walk these same steps, and we just built a building here.
Yeah.
So, we have, and thinking of Chicago, where is the Congress? I think the Congress is far enough back that it was actually still land. A lot of land was reclaimed in Chicago to build the shoreline and everything on Lake Michigan. But how much of that was, part of just not even land that later got haunted? There was a patient's family member was telling me about, they had a apartment, a house, a building that was on the almost shore, basically, once upon a time, and where their basement was and their steps was relevant to the shoreline, and how they would see a little girl, and like how that played into where like the shoreline once was and stuff like that. And I'm going, that is wild, so we don't even think of that point in time sometimes when we think of these spirits. So I think it's always happening. They're always popping in and out, and sometimes we get to see them.
Oh, sure.
Well, I didn't send you the link after we went to the cemetery, the Forest Home one, where those mausoleums are on that ridge.
Yeah.
That was ancient lake, like an ancient lake, during the glacial period. That was actually the start of like that ridge right there was the shoreline.
That's awesome. And that's why it's there. So it's for you guys, it's an old cemetery. It's a cool cemetery. So many old stories, and it's not affiliated with any one religion, so it's super interesting. It's not monochromatic at all. It's very interesting.
Diverse.
Diverse, monochromatic. Same thing. But so there's these old mausoleums, but it's weird. They're like built into this hill out of nowhere, but there is the Des Plaines River runs right there too, actually through the cemetery. But this random ridge, and it's these random like mausoleums. It's very New Orleans, but they're like kind of vibe, but they're built into a hill, and it's so just out of nowhere in the cemetery. So it was like an old shoreline. They didn't just like build a hill then.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
An ancient lake, So, and then that also became Lake Chicago at some point.
Yeah.
So
we're big on that.
And then also that cemetery, we had, the Masons had a monument there. Am I frozen?
Oh,
yeah.
You're a little. I can still hear you.
I can still hear you too.
Right on.
Oh. Lost it.
Carrie, maybe you can finish that story.
No, you can still talk. We just
Yeah, you
it's
can
not
still
moving,
talk. Like we can hear you.
it's still
There were
friend.
Native American mounds there. I mean, just a very cool cemetery. Again, Chicago cemeteries are interesting.
Well, I know what I'm visiting if I ever visit my friend from college because he lives in Chicago too.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
just they
definitely.
go on and on. Like I had to laugh because Paige had a reel or TikTok or whatever, just talking about how like the Chicago cemeteries go on and on. I was like, you're right, they sure do, because I
Yeah.
don't think about that. I grew up with it, but they really do. And there's some areas that are heavier than others with them, and that's in that area, like where Forest Home is. There's a lot and they go on and on. There's a whole like cluster. That's speaking of the gangsters, Al Capone, and a lot of in Mount Carmel Cemetery, you could visit Al Capone's grave and a lot of other graves that would, go with it.
Mhm.
So we're pretty spoiled with pretty cool things. Not as cool as the East Coast, though. You guys are lucky. It's very old. We're not as old,
Right.
but
I've
it
seen
is
Al
pretty cool.
Capone cell at Eastern State Penitentiary before. That was great.
See, well, I have to make it out there because I've seen his grave. So
I feel like we're not as spoiled in Pittsburgh because we do have a lot of, supposedly active locations, but there's none that are specifically open to the public to investigate. So we either have to go to like Ohio or we have to go to, the Philadelphia or West Virginia or New York.
So what's with Ohio? Like, why is Ohio so many things? It's not just OSR. It's, everything I see lately. Maybe it's just like the algorithm talking to me, but everything's Ohio. And I'm like, no, not. That's like a special occasion for me. I'm not just driving out there for no reason. Not no reason, but like much in Ohio.
I would say it's just more open to investigations and having people like having a location specifically for investigating, like the Bel Air House, the Ross House, the Inspiration House. Like they're just more open to having that type of business where it's like, the Philly area in Pennsylvania is where most of the places you can rent to investigate are on the east part. So like here in Western PA, we're kind of limited. We have Hillview. We used to have Greenville Manor, but they had to shut down recently. So now it's like we have Hillview, and that's about it, unless you can get into a historical place. But a lot of the historical societies aren't keen to having people come in and investigate.
Yeah, and the city of Pittsburgh, it's hard really to get anything in actual Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Usually it's like the obscure, like antique stores you can get in, which you can get all kinds of cool stuff there.
And that's interesting because it's just all the antiques too. It's not even like the store, right? It's just everything you brought into
the objects.
Yeah. We investigated one, the pickle jar. That's where I was talking earlier about Phil. One of the workers there allegedly got thrown. We got it on camera while we were doing a spirit box. Like she just kind of fell backwards, and I can't say it was real, but if she faked it, she fell directly back first into this corner of a table. So yeah, she was dedicated if she did fake it. But,
commitment.
Yeah. But I mean, we got cool stuff because you have the antiques there. Yeah, the place burnt down 3 months after we investigated. So we didn't get a documentary or anything there. But
coincidence? I don't know.
It used to be a brothel, and the top floor, you can actually see the rooms for the brothel. And that's where it was also a speakeasy, like so much history there. But then you're also bringing in all those objects with their own particular energy. So it was pretty wild. And our next documentary, I investigated an antique store by myself, and it's like they're always listening, whether they're coming in from the history of the place or anything. It's they're always listening and interacting in weird ways, and you don't know what the origin is, if it's the land or the stuff that was brought in.
I think that's my next thing. I just want to like go to some cool antique store and just like look for something haunted. We had a Sharice Williams. We had an interview with her, and she's talking about like a haunted painting that one of her friends had. And I'm a little obsessed with that now. Like, maybe, I don't know, probably asking for trouble, but wouldn't that
get
be
some
cool?
Ghostbusters stuff going on.
Wouldn't that be cool to just be like, I bought this vase and now stuff happens? I don't know.
I've bought like a K2 meter in the thrift stores before, just to like check items and see if we're getting any ratings or anything.
I might be ready for that in my life. I don't know.
Hey, why the hell not?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like the case
Yeah.
of the Januaries. I'm just a little like, let's have some excitement.
Yeah, let's do some weird
See
shit.
what happens.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of last rites crosses actually in our house, probably about 4 or 5.
Oh,
Those are
That
cool.
Jen usually will find at different antique stores or different flea markets and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I always say if I didn't have the 2-year-old, I would definitely do more weird shit in my house. I just till he gets a little older, you know.
You're like, here's a haunted doll, son.
Yeah. Play with it.
just play with it. See what happens.
Yeah.
Leo's just sliding across the floor.
Yeah. With his rat tail like following him.
With the rat, bringing it back to the rat tail.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do you guys have anything coming up you guys want to promote or anything?
I'm gonna say watch out for Into the Obscure podcast. Follow and there's upgrading, changes happening, so exciting stuff happening. But otherwise, follow me, Kara Phillip, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok for any exciting stuff coming. We'll be at Parapsychon, but that's before we know it going to happen. But still a few months away, and that's what I got going on.
And you can check out, I am at Paige Dalton Official on Instagram, Paige Dalton on Facebook, and then History Haunts Hotels on TikTok. I also own a crystal business, so you can find me at Seraphina Crystals if you need protective crystals as well. That's going to be on TikTok and Facebook and Insta. And stay tuned for Expedition Entity Season 4. Follow Paraflix. Subscribe to Paraflix, please. So yeah, at Paraflix. You can find Paraflix on Instagram, all the stuff.
Yeah. And I'm going to also plug right after Parapsychon, we are going to be at Spirits in the Spring. I'll be one of the special guests there. So Spirits in the Spring at Broadhead Manor for anybody in the Midwest. So come on out. So Paraflix will be there and a whole lot of other cool people. And I'm super excited about that one.
Yes. And if you're in Madison, Wisconsin, February 18th, we've got a Paracon also that weekend. So come out to the Crucible. An Expedition Entity will be there, and I'll have some crystals, so you can shop. And then we're in Galena at some point in April. So just stay tuned. Follow us. I would love to.
Yeah, just follow us. We're pretty fun. Yeah.
Make it happen.
And maybe most importantly, we have a mini triathlon.
We do. So we're going to start talking about that more. I may have officially ordered my mini triathlon suit. So that's really, we're talking about being hilarious with those.
Wait, when is that again?
In August.
So the hottest month too. That's
the hottest month. There's swimming, there is running and biking, and it's a mini triathlon. I really can't say that enough because every time I actually see what a real triathlon is, I say, "Oh no." So it's a mini, and it's going to be, all I'm going to talk about for the next 8 months.
Nice. We'll get a GoPro and live stream it.
That's an idea. You're gonna just listen to me dying. I'll be like,
well, if you do, we'll talk to you afterwards.
Yes, I'll show up in the Pittsburgh bathroom.
Yeah, there you go.
Potty.
We'll go to Sean's old house, break in, and talk to
you. Perfect. It's a date.
Yeah, August 5th is my 40th, and we decided August 4th would be a good idea to do this. I'm really big into manifesting, and they said I had already manifested myself on a yacht on my 40th. And I'm worried it's like the wrong type of boat.
There's going to be some swimming for our lives the day before, just making it. Swimming comes first. It's swimming, running, biking. So I figure we'll survive the swim. It's mini. It's 375 yards. So we'll do the swim, and then we have to run. It's only a 5K is what I tell myself. And then I can do all of this today. I could, but I just might not be done till tomorrow. So the goal is to do this in a reasonable time. And then we bike for 22 kilometers.
They should change the order Bike
No, I
or
think that's
run and
perfect.
then swim last.
No, because you would
Right,
drown
yeah,
when you're
drowning, yeah.
exhausted.
No, it's refreshing. You're like, yes.
You have to be safe.
Swimming is going to be hard because your legs are going to feel a little jello-y, but we'll see. We've got this. I'm not worried.
We've got this. It's fine. I have so much time. Today I walked with the dogs for like 4.5 miles, and I would like to say half of that was running, is what I'm going to tell myself, at least half.
There you go.
So it's fine.
Basically, already ran it. You're fine.
Yeah, it's already done. I did the 5K, and
Now you don't even have to actually do it. You just
No.
you did it already.
I did it.
You're gonna have a good time.
So stay tuned for goggles pictures.
Yeah.
I got to dig out the goggles.
Get that GoPro.
We're going to be ridiculous is what I'm saying. So stay tuned, for all the paranormal stuff and the rest.
And I said I will have to do like a sepia colored picture in our swimsuit with our caps, 1940s style.
Because they're triathlon suits. So they're not bathing suits. They're just like a suit, like the shorts, one piece, zip up. Like it's going to be like
frills. No ruffles.
No, just very sepia tone will be hilarious is what I've decided. So
Are you gonna have designs on it, like promoting stuff or anything?
no. So
Taking
you know what?
sponsors?
What I ordered is black and orange, and because you pick like black, I'm not gonna pick gray. You're gonna see gray is not as cover up as black, but I picked orange because, and I'm dead serious when I say this, orange, if you're worried about drowning or being found in the water, it's orange. That's what they're gonna see you furthest down, and where we are gonna swim is it's a very popular, it's called Centennial Beach. It's a pool. It's a pool. But it's an old quarry. So it's like 0 depth entry, and you can't see down like more than a foot or two, really. We're going to wear these goggles for fun. So I at least can open my eyes. You're not seeing anything. So enjoy this, Paige. So orange, because I'm convinced they'll find my body faster. And I'm like dead serious. I laugh as I say this, but I'm dead serious. It's black and orange.
On my
So they'll
birthday.
find me. It'll be fun.
No, you guys should get sponsors and like put stickers on or something. We'll get you guys some bump stickers. You can put them on your
the bathing cap.
Yeah.
You don't want those photos on your So everybody enjoy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, we
We'll look at
appreciate you guys
Printify
coming
has
on.
anything.
Really do. It was a good time.
Make sure you come over at Parapsychon, say what's up to us or whatever.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Are you kidding? We're gonna go have something to go eat.
Well, yeah, we're gonna eat. I
might
might drink with some of you, and Paige will eat with you.
I
If we
will.
can get that same Airbnb that we had last year, maybe we'll throw another party or something. That'd be cool.
I was gonna say, if you need more people there, my hotel is not a commitment in my life. So
Paige, I don't drink either, so we can just eat the whole time.
So,
Nice.
perfect. I love this.
Yeah, no. If I drank, I would be it wouldn't be.
Let's not introduce that into our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I used to just always pee on something stupid and try to fight people. So yeah, I feel your pain.
Yeah. No, it's fun this way. So we'll have a good time. All right. Well,
We'll party.
yeah.
Thanks for having us, you guys. We totally appreciate it. It was wonderful actually meeting you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can find us here, and here, and here. Don't forget, everybody needs a little bump in the night.